Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to paint a cross with flowers. I'm using Maya Himi gouache paint and watercolor paper, and I'm starting off with my cross shape. Now you can choose any color you would like to make your cross in the center. Because this is kind of a spring painting with all of the fun, pretty color flowers, I decided to go with a spring green for my cross. I'm trying to make it nice and thick. I'm making the top and the bottom edges a little bit wider than the center of the cross. And I'm using a green mixed with a little bit of white gouache. Now you could do the same thing with acrylic or the same thing with watercolor. Doesn't really matter what medium you use. I'm going to go ahead and start with the cross right in the center. If you're more comfortable using a ruler to make sure that your lines are straight, you're welcome to do that as well, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it. The next thing I'm choosing is my background color. Now, because I'm using gouache, I can paint a darker color and then I can add lights on top of it. If you're painting with watercolor, you would want to paint the flowers first and then add the background color around them. I'm using a little bit darker shade of green. I'm mixing it with a little bit of white so it's not super dark. And notice I'm leaving a little bit of a line between the background and the cross just so the colors don't mix, and because I'm going to add an outline around the cross later. I'm just taking my time, painting all the way around my cross with my background colors. Now notice that I have my paper taped down. This is so that it doesn't move, it doesn't ripple at all, and it creates a nice white border when I am finished with my painting. All right, so I'm getting all of the background filled in, and then I'm going to have to let this dry before I go back in again. So I gave it some time to dry, and now I am adding a border around my cross. And again, this is personal preference. You can pick any color you would like. I went for this kind of lilac purple. I thought it would be a nice contrast to the two greens. Just a really pretty addition to this cross painting. I'm using a flat brush because I find it easier to make straight lines with the flat brush. You can see I'm turning it sideways and just kind of following the lines around my cross. Now the gouache paint I'm using, this Maya Himi Jelly Gouache, is kind of a student grade gouache. It stays kind of in these little, they almost look like ketchup packets, and it stays moist. Every once in a while I will give it a little spray of water to keep it moist. Gouache is a kind of watercolor that's opaque, meaning you cannot see through it. So it's really nice if you want to layer colors on top of each other, especially lights on top of darks. The nice thing too is you can re-wet it once it is dry. So if any of my little ketchup containers over there do get dry, I can add a lot of water and then just kind of mix them back up again and they will come back to life. So I have been enjoying using gouache for the past year or so and really enjoy its qualities. Next, I'm going to start planning where I want some flowers. So this is going to be kind of a rose-like flower. I'm going to add another circle over here. That's going to be the center of another flower. I'm going to add maybe a sunflower down here with a nice brown center. And I'm going to maybe throw another flower up here that has a yellow center. So I'm just kind of planning around the cross some different areas that I can fill with some flowers. I'm going to go ahead and start adding details to the flowers that I have. So this rose, I am just creating some lines that kind of go in a circular pattern here. And I'm leaving some of that dark showing through to make it look like little petals that are going around the rose. Next, I'm going to throw some petals on my sunflower, and you can see I've decided to overlap the cross just a little bit. I'm using more of a golden yellow, and I've switched to a round brush instead of the flat brush that I was using before. I'm going to make some white petals here that kind of look like a daisy. I'm going to go all the way around. I have to decide if I want it to be in front of the cross or behind the cross, in front of the sunflower, behind the sunflower, so you can kind of decide that as you paint. Next, I'm adding another little rose that's a little bit more pink. I'm also going to add another flower, maybe like a Gabbera daisy or something like that up here. That's the darker pink. Has the nice big petals, or the long petals. They're not very big, they're pretty skinny. So yeah, you can just play around with different shades of flowers, different kinds of flowers. Maybe you have ones that you really like, trying to keep it very colorful and fun. I'm going to throw another rose over here to kind of tie it in with the other ones that I already have. It's going to be kind of in the background more. And then I think I'm going to throw another sunflower up here since I've got such a big open space, and I love sunflowers. They are one of my favorite flowers. I'm adding a little bit of darker brown along the edges of the centers of my sunflowers. And then now I'm going to go back in and add those golden petals that are coming off from the center. I'm trying not to brush too much when I'm adding these petals because you can reactivate the green underneath. So I try to just kind of lay the paint on and move on to the next thing. So I'm going to indicate just a little bit of a flower off in the corner of the canvas here, of the paper. All right, now I wanted to add some greenery, some leaves and kind of vine type things that are going around the flowers. So I'm using a darker green for this, and I'm just kind of filling in any empty spaces that are around my cross. So I'm throwing in leaves and little stems and things like that to help fill in around my cross. I'm using a darker green so that it stands off of the lighter green background. It doesn't just get lost in the mix. Just having a couple leaves floating here and there to try to fill in the area. Next, I wanted to add a little bit of detail to the cross, so I thought it would be fun just to add kind of a leaf design or pattern. And I mean, you could do any kind of pattern in here. It could just be like polka dots or stripes or hearts or whatever. I decided to stick with my spring theme here and just add a leaf line design. So I'm just adding a little leaf shape with a center line, keeping it very basic and simple here. And I'm just trying to make the leaves going in lots of different directions so that they're not all the same. But I mean, you could get really fancy with your cross in the middle, do some type of ornate pattern. You can make it like checkered or something. There's just no end to the possibilities. So I decided to keep mine kind of organic. Now I'm just going to go back through and add some little details to the various flowers. So I wanted to add little highlights or maybe darken some areas that need to be darker, just to kind of make them stand out a little bit more. I wanted to darken this flower on top just to kind of add a little bit of purple to the mix too. Give it a little bit more depth. I want to brighten my sunflower petals just a little bit by adding a pop of brighter yellow to each of the petals. Kind of makes those pop out a little bit. And I can do that to some of my flower centers as well. There you have it. I'm taking off the tape to reveal that nice crisp white border, and you have a nice spring cross flower picture. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope to see you again soon. If you liked this video, please don't hesitate to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more fun videos to come. Thanks, guys.